Scary ghost videos to give you pit stains. Embark on a daring voyage into the unknown, my courageous souls. We explore the shadows tonight, where the boundaries between the normal and the otherworldly are hazy. These are not just ghost stories, but actual encounters captured on video. Of course, there is a paradox inherent in frightening stories. The better the stories are, the more they will disturb your sleep at night. We've compiled a list of ghost stories that will undoubtedly haunt you. All of them are based on actual events, in keeping with the spirit of the season. So, if you're courageous enough, turn out the lights and get ready for real, horrific horror stories that will keep you up all night. Get ready for an extremely spooky journey through the scariest ghost videos, which will leave you feeling cold and stained like a pit. Remember to like and give us a thumbs up so we can continue regularly uploading videos. Are you willing to confront your fear? Now let's get started. Number 6. The Ashley Street Ghost. Huntington College is one of the numerous haunted colleges in America, each with its own ghost story. The following factual narrative originates from the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. In 1972, University of Michigan students living on Ashley Street held a haunting party. The Michigan Daily reported that a 15-year-old girl who had no business being there at all suddenly felt a strange, bone-chilling cold. She went upstairs to try to warm up. Heat rises, we suppose. That's when everything started to go wrong. A sliding wall in the house revealed a black shadow moving toward the girl. Downstairs, in the meantime, posters were tumbling off the walls at random and piling up into a mound on the floor. As the girl made her way back downstairs, she started saying odd things like, "I accept responsibility for the drugs and addiction, but deep down, I wasn't that way. I would like to express my regret to all those concerned about my actions." The fact that the girl did not use drugs, much less have an addiction, made those remarks even more bizarre. The kids who resided in the house didn't find her remarks particularly odd, though. The man who had occupied the residence prior to their arrival had a severe addiction. What was the reason for his departure from the area? A drug overdose had claimed his life. Has Ashley Street's ghost appeared anywhere else recently? That's still a mystery that fits the scariest horror films. Number 5. The Ghost of Frederick Jordan. This true ghost story is about a man named Frederick Jordan who worked in one of the most isolated and lonely jobs there is. Off the shore of Fairfield, Connecticut, Jordan maintained Penfield Reef Lighthouse as a lighthouse keeper. Constructed in 1874, the main purpose of the lighthouse was to alert ships to a dangerous concealed reef that was the cause of many harbor mishaps. Frederick Jordan served as the head lighthouse keeper in 1916. Tragically, a gale caught him while he was rowing home to meet his family, resulting in his drowning in a boating accident just before Christmas of that year. Since then, people have attributed Jordan's alleged spiritual presence to the lighthouse's mechanical and lighting issues. Even more unsettling is the fact that lighthouse keepers at Penfield Reef Lighthouse frequently discover the lighthouse logbook open to the day Jordan passed away. Additionally, residents have reported seeing an unidentified figure materialize in the ocean to guide errant vessels into safety near the reef. Number 4. The Ghost Who Came to Play. You might be more like awe than eek after reading this true ghost story, but only until you realize that even when it comes to the worst of terrifying tales, we truly have no idea what our four-legged companions can detect that we cannot. Do dogs have ghost sightings? According to Jesus Aramendi, DVM, a senior veterinarian for Chewy, there is a ton of evidence that could support the notion that dogs can sense paranormal activity, and many dog specialists, including veterinarians, will speak to that fact. Renowned psychic medium Christy Robinette, known for her ability to communicate with ghosts, sent this story directly to Reader's Digest. According to Reader's Digest, Robinette said, "Marlene settled onto her side of the bed and patted Jack's pillow beside her. Even after a year had passed, Marlene was still getting used to being a widow. Perhaps it was unrealistic to expect her to ever adjust after 40 years of marriage. Elmer, a golden retriever, appeared to understand this right away. When Marlene came home from the hospital that chilly, moonless night by herself, Elmer took a risk that he had never taken before. He leaped onto Jack's side of the bed, leaning his head on the pillow. Robinette noted Jack would never have allowed it, but Marlene didn't shoo him off. Rather, she took a seat next to Elmer and let his soothing snore lull her to sleep. The next night was the same as the previous one. This pattern had become reassuring and consistent last year. However, not this evening. Since Jack's death, Elmer has never left Marlene by herself in bed until now. However, Marlene knew that Elmer was asking for outsies when she heard the sound of nails clicking on the wood floor downstairs. Marlene sighed and headed for the foyer at the bottom of the stairs. Alas, Elmer was not pacing before the large oak door. Instead, he was twirling, gesturing, bending, and wriggling. It reminded him of the way he used to behave when Jack came home from work. Number 3. The Lost Colony of Roanoke. One of the earliest European settlements in the United States was the Roanoke Colony. The first Queen Elizabeth founded the colony in 1587, situating it on an island off the coast of what is now the state of North Carolina. John White, the colony's leader, left shortly after and went back to England, the home of the settlers. His journey was supposed to be short. All he was supposed to do was gather supplies and head back to the New World. However, political unrest, in the shape of England's war with Spain, kept White away until 1590. When John White came back, things had altered significantly in just 3 years. In actuality, the entire colony, which at the time had 115 residents, had vanished, including a newborn child named Virginia Dare, simply got up and disappeared. All that remained was a pillar with the word Croton etched on it. Croton was the name of an Aboriginal tribe that got along well with the colonists. White therefore believed that the colonists had relocated to Croton Island, which is now Hatteras, North Carolina. However, they hadn't. It's still one of the most well-known disappearances that eludes explanation. Moreover, no evidence of the colony's murder has ever surfaced. Many people think that baby Virginia grew up to be a stunning young woman who later became involved in a tragic relationship with Elkisco, a native warrior. She still wanders the woods to this day looking for her man, who usually appears to her as a pale white deer that always disappears at first light. The ghost of Virginia Dare is undoubtedly the phantom deer's identity, as stated by long-standing island residents in Encyclopedia, a state encyclopedia published by the North Carolina Government and Heritage Library. You're not alone if you've been dying to know how an entire colony could vanish without any explanation other than ghost stories. In the upcoming 10 years, we might resolve a few mysteries, including this one. Number 2. The Princes in the Tower. In order to prevent their eventual ascension to the throne, the Tower of London held 2 young princes, Edward and Richard. Following the death of King Edward IV in April of 1483, the 12-year-old eldest son, Edward V, briefly assumed the throne. Given his youth, choosing a regent was necessary. The regent was the younger monarch's uncle. This uncle, known as the Duke of Gloucester, was well known for his bitterness toward the boy's existence. He would have been the next in line of succession if it weren't for them. The events that followed are incredibly mysterious, ranking among the most peculiar mysteries involving the British royal family. Following the alleged abduction and imprisonment of the young monarch and his brother Richard, the Duke of York, in the Tower of London, the Duke of Gloucester proclaimed himself King Richard II. That is, 2 little skeletons that were finally discovered in the tower are thought to be all that remains of the 2 young princes, aside from the ghostly apparitions, as they were never seen or heard from again. Reports from visitors claiming to have seen the ghostly beings have appeared in British papers. Are these spooky tales evidence of the paranormal or just tabloid fodder? You have to make that decision. Number 1. The Ghost of the Hanged Man. A common element across many ghost stories is their provision of a sense of justice as compensation for an unjust death. On the other hand, this specific ghost story presents another perspective. The story revolves around experiencing unfair treatment after death and pursuing retribution in the afterlife. On October 13, 1877, a trial concluded that Robert Schmale was responsible for a horrifying and puzzling murderous rampage leading to his hanging. The townspeople left his body hanging for days because they were so full of hate and rage. According to the story, not a single townie showed even the slightest hint of regret, much less forgiveness. Schmale is supposed to have haunted the town ever since. According to many who have seen him, he first appears as a ghostly male form, but as soon as you start to think about it, the figure, quite frustratingly, vanishes into the shadows. That feels like a most fitting conclusion to the greatest ghost stories ever. I appreciate you looking. Remember to subscribe and like our YouTube channel.